What are the top 6 things that you should be doing in your business right now that are going to help you improve the next 6 months and the next 12 months? And today I've got a special guest, and his name is actually David Guest, and he's from Outcomes Business Group, which is a coaching group based out of Melbourne down there. Welcome, David.
Yeah, thanks, Steve.
Good to have you here. We've known each other over a 14, 15-year journey, right back at the start when we were only a year and a half into our business. You were back with Action Coach back in those days, and we got you in to help us out get through that first 2 years, and I'm always very appreciative of what you did for us and how you worked with us. We were two mates who went into business from the end of a bedroom trying to get a marketplace to come in the Australian market, and I believe, if we didn't have you back in those early days, I'm not sure if we'd still be here today. So thank you, mate. I'm always great appreciative.
Yeah, it was my pleasure
to have you on the show today and have a chat. So what have you been up to over the last 12 years? I'm sure you've learned a few more tricks or two, and we definitely have on our side too. So
yeah, good question. Look, I've been doing the same as you, been building my business. We've now got 5 coaches working here and a team of 12 people in the office. So just living the dream, getting that business working, getting sort of more flexibility, more variety in what I can do, and just being able to reach more people.
Yeah, great. And it was pretty exciting for me that you had actually gone out and started your own business and done it. And you had done that before you were in the coaching days too.
Yeah.
And you would have worked with a lot of businesses over the years. So today we just wanted to have a high quality conversation about, what are some of these things the steel pushers out there or these business owners, what are 6 key things they could be doing in their business? And, when we had a quick chat yesterday, you said planning, number 1.
Yeah, definitely planning. I mean, there's an old saying by Stephen Covey, begin with the end in mind. And the amount of people I meet in business that really their plan is to just make a profit this year. So it's very short-sighted. It's very much about the now. It's not really thinking about what they're building or what the end product's going to be.
Yeah, I think you really drummed that into us. And we used to meet people and they'd say, so what are you doing with your business? Oh, we're building it to sell it.
Yeah.
And I think our first plan was to sell it after 3 years, and then that moved to 5 years, and it moved to 3 years, and we're 14 years down the track. But I just believe you build a better business when you have an end in mind.
Yeah.
So, I think it's worked for us. It's a good mindset. So when should people do the planning?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, planning should start before you start the business. I want you to think about, you go to a builder and you say, build me a house. And the guy says, no problem, we need a plan. You say, don't worry about the plan, let's just get started. That would be just nuts, right? But for people in business, you don't need a plan to start your business, you can just start. And so, when do you need to start planning? Ideally before you start, but if you've already started, then now, right? Because without a plan, you're just sort of coasting, you're sort of following the flow, you're just sort of letting the tail wag the dog.
Yeah, and then another trick to that is don't put it in the top drawer and then have a look at it in a year's time and sort of say, oh, how are we traveling?
Yeah.
I know we've been a bit guilty of that over the years, and
yeah.
I think we're doing it a lot better now where it's an active plan.
Yeah.
12 months is a long time in business nowadays, isn't it? 6 months is a long time, especially with, what we're going through at the moment with the COVID and what have you. So, who should do the planning?
Yeah, well, look, I suppose the first thing, it's not about the plan, it's about the planning, right? So having it in the top drawer makes no sense. The people that need to do the planning are the leaders of the business or the owners of the business, the management team, and they should all get together and they should talk about what's happening now. Like say with this COVID-19 thing, there should be an adaptation plan, right, to deal with the current market, but you need a short game and a long game. And the long game is answering that question, what will my business look like when it's finished? Now, it's a scary question for some people because they have no concept of what a finished business looks like. So it's really thinking about that end game, but also making sure you've got a short-term plan as well.
Of course. A nice addition that we've added to that is, on the research, on the value proposition. Our whole mindset this year was finding the truth, and sometimes the truth hurts. We really went back to a lot of our clients. I think a lot of the planning in businesses, people get caught planning in amongst themselves and the leaders,
Yeah.
and then having gone out and talked to the customers and really understood what is the value proposition for your customer. So value proposition, the research, looking into the data. Have you got some sort of background or thoughts on that of, research into what you're doing for the next 12 months or what your customers need?
I mean, in the end, fundamentally a business is a entity that provides value, right? And you'll make money in accordance with how much people value what you do. So if you don't consider what the value proposition is, as you called it, or what the clients want, you might have a product that no one wants, and you're getting frustrated by not having enough sales. And the reality of sales is if someone wants your product, they'll buy it. If they think it's too expensive, they won't buy it. So asking that question around value proposition is really saying, well, what do the customers want? Because the simple rule of business is find out what they want, give it to them, and they'll pay you. It sounds simple when we say it that way, but often people are thinking about, I've got this product, how do I sell it? Wrong question. The question is, what does the market want and how do you get it?
And then what are the little 1% improvers that we can add on it? Because the
Yeah.
customer's always going to say, oh, yeah, give me a faster horse, aren't they? So there's an element of Henry Ford of, the old faster horse. Well, no, we're moving into the car. There is some disruptors in these markets nowadays, but it's got to involve the customer. So really good point. When we move into, time management, I know you used to coach us a lot on this and keep us accountable each week. So what are some of your mindsets around time management?
Yeah, because I think often people think that you can manage time, and it's a bit of a myth, right? Because we all get 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's not really about time management, it's about priority management. And the reason I held you guys to account was because you get sort of distracted by all of the noise, right? So you'd be busy all the time doing stuff. But the whole idea of time management is making sure you allocate time to doing the most important things. Now, here's the catch-22. I don't think you can identify what the most important things are unless you have a plan. So doing time management without a plan is a bit futile. You might become really efficient, but you're not becoming effective, right? So you might be running around faster and getting more done, but you might be getting more done of the wrong thing. So time management is really still connected to having those goals or having that plan.
Yeah, I like what you said to me yesterday, and it's really stuck in my head. It's like, well, if you ain't got the plan, you might be working really hard and really busy, but you're on the treadmill and the company's not progressing. You're just running in the same spot. Yeah.
It's like the distinction between business and busyness, right? Most people are in busyness, they're not in business, right? They're just running around in circles, just trying to make ends meet.
Yeah, that's a really good one. So what else do you have around, how do you prioritize? What's some good tools these steel pushers out there could use to manage their time? Once they've got a plan, they've got the time.
Yep. So look, the bottom line is this, right? There's an old principle called the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, right? And it basically says 20% of what you do produces 80% of the results, and the other 80% only produces 20%. So the real question is, what is the 20% that I should focus on? And how do I make sure I do more of it? Now, we've got tools, like if anyone jumps on my website, there's tools there if they want to download them, because it's about identifying what the best use of your time is. And it's different for different people, but there's always an 80-20 rule. It doesn't matter how successful you are, how busy you are, how much money you're making, there's still 20% of what you do produces 80% of the result. So identifying what that is and doing more of it. And also the reverse, 20% of what you do takes up 80% of your time or produces 80% of your headaches. So do less of the low value tasks and do more of the high value tasks.
Yeah, I think that's how the accountability worked really well for us. We did weekly coaching with you. We're going to catch up on a Thursday. Well, of course, Wednesday night, we were having some long nights, and because the old 80% had clogged up the way throughout the week. But by the time we hit you and got to you, we had to have done what we said we were going to do. So Wednesday night definitely gave us a few headaches sometimes, but we turned up and got the things going. So I think we got off the treadmill and were able to still progress and keep the business moving in the right direction. Yeah, so it's about discipline and willpower, but having an external person hold you to account just makes sure, because as you said, all the homework was done on Wednesday nights. So if we had fortnightly coaching, you'd only do it once a fortnight. This way you're doing it every week. So you're getting a lot more done that was in that 20%,
by having the regular accountability.
And just to let you know, we did actually do sometimes through the week. We go back from coaching and we go, we've really got to do this now. So we would go and crack in and make inroads, and then it wasn't like the project handing in on the last night where you used to cram it in, because it used to get a bit stressful. So it did help us, that's for sure.
Yeah.
What about knowing your numbers? You obviously got a plan, you've got no time management, now knowing your numbers. How important is that?
Well, you think about what's happening right now, right? The world's going through this sort of lockdown, this COVID thing, and it's all about the numbers, right? We're using the number of COVID cases to dictate what the economy is going to do, right? The cases go up, they shut things down, they're using numbers, right? So in business, the same is true. Knowing your numbers, there's two kinds of numbers in business, right? Everyone knows their financials, generally because they have to put their BAS in every quarter, right? So we know the dollars, but they're known as a lagging indicator. So they're great for telling you what happened, right? The other numbers I think people need to know is the leading indicators, which is their activity-based KPIs. And knowing these numbers means you can make better business decisions. But for a lot of people, they're sort of so busy, they just get overwhelmed by the numbers, or they leave it to the accountant, right? And reality is the numbers are like the dashboard on your car. They tell you what's going on right now. And if you know them, you can make better decisions.
So how do you define these numbers? How do you get down to the core of what's actually needed?
Yeah, that's a good question too, Steve. I mean, in the end, that ties back to the plan, right? Because if you know what you're trying to achieve, because I'll often ask people, how much money do you want to make? And people look at me like, what do you mean? I get to choose? I go, yeah, well, you pick the number and then we build the business to deliver that number. But if you don't pick the number, then we're not really using any sort of mechanism to grow the business. So I suppose the obvious one is it's not revenue, because revenue is sort of nice to know, but it's profitability that's important in a business, right? How much you get to keep, right? But that's still a lagging indicator. So then we look at activity. If we're a marketing oriented company, it's about lead generation. It's about conversion. It's about number of sales meetings. So there's a whole lot of things we can measure, but it should be related to what you're trying to achieve in the business.
Yeah, I like that. And that is something we've done. And then taking it a step further to actually have the dashboards to understand our numbers. Because it's one thing having the numbers, isn't it? You imagine in a modern day car now, how many numbers and pieces of information they've got. They can't give it to us as we're driving down the road, isn't it? So you've got to know the numbers at the right time. We've got to have that little fuel gauge on the side there to go, hang on, are we running out of petrol or rev? Are we really revving this thing way too hard, which I like to do in a good V8 or something like that. But they're not going to give us all the information. They give us the right information at the right time.
Yeah, it's like the speed limit, right? Is there like on the dashboard you've got a speedo. The only real purpose of a speedo is to tell you what speed you're going, and the only reason that's important is because there's a speed limit. Because if there was no speed limit, then the speed would not be important. What would be important is that you're driving safely. So the same applies in business. You need to have a budget, you need to have a target, and then you can use that target to tell how you're going. But without a target, the revenue and profit means nothing.
And who decides these? Is it back to the head of the company or the leaders? Who decides these numbers?
Yeah, it comes back to the planning. So it comes down to the leaders, the managers. The company has to decide, what am I going to go for this year? Now, if we don't decide, we talk about the whole definition of insanity: do the same thing, expect a different result. So you watch people who are in business just running a treadmill, right? Because they've got no target, and they go, my target is to survive. And you go, well, that's not a great target. That's not exciting, right? What we're trying to achieve here is setting targets that are sort of a stretch, right? As we did with you guys. You had some pretty big numbers in your head when you started this business, and some people thought you were nuts. But it creates space to grow when you have good targets in front of you and you actually move towards them.
Yeah, and then it sets the focus, isn't it? Where focus goes, energy flows. So you're flowing on the right things that are going to move the dial. Yeah. David, time's absolutely ripped by. We're already off to a break. So see you Steel Pushers after the break. We've got another couple of really cool topics. So see you shortly.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve. Cheers.
Our passion is reinvigorating the business dream, and that really means taking the business owner from being confused and overwhelmed to driven and highly successful. I'm David Guest, I'm the founder of Outcomes Business Group. One of the biggest problems I see with business owners is not that they're not intelligent, not that they don't know anything about their trade, it's actually the opposite. They probably know too much, which means they get stuck doing the work And the problem is the person who's doing the work is also the person that's expecting to see a profit out of the business. So they've got collusion going on. And really, like, being a business owner is quite different to being a self-employed person. And trying to move from one to the other is one of the hardest things you can do. So I established Outcomes Business Group in around 2000. It started based on the premise that I'd sort of been in business a number of times and I'd failed. And I started to think about, well, what am I passionate about? And it turned out that I was passionate about education and teaching people. So I took that passion and combined it with my desire to run my own business. And it turned out that being a business coach or running a business coaching firm was my success sort of quotient. Outcomes Business Group started off as just a coaching service. And over the years, we've actually established an education service as well. So we help people in business, not only through accountability and coaching, but we also do the education aspect. So we run a whole heap of workshops on things like marketing, sales, business systemization, goal setting, understanding financials, just every aspect of what you need to build a successful business. Even though the fundamentals of business are the same, every business is different. And so we really need to understand the business owner, where they're at in their business, what are the gaps in their knowledge, the gaps in their strategy, so we can actually put together the optimized coaching program to get them the best results as quickly as possible. I suppose what makes us stand out from our competitors is we've been around for 20 years. We've developed quite a comprehensive system of education and accountability. And by combining those two things together, we start getting breakthroughs with our clients where, traditionally, if you've got just someone who's holding you to account, it's just motivation. If you've got just an education, it's just knowledge. But when you combine an education and accountability, you start applying pressure, which causes growth. Every business is different, and really not knowing exactly what a coaching firm can do for you, the question of how much is irrelevant, right? What we really need to do is establish where you are at in your business, identify the gaps, talk about how we can fill those gaps for you and what time period it's going to take. So the best way to do that is to speak to one of the coaches here. Just jump on the website. There's a whole heap of coaches that are working with us. You can pick the one that you like and you can book a time to speak to them.
Welcome back, all you steel pushers. I'm sure you're enjoying the show. This guy's got a wealth of experience. Great to have you in, David, and talking about some of these key things that are going to help these businesses,
Yeah.
So let's talk about, let's move it along a little bit and talk about customer service, because I know you're huge on this, and this is a big part of every business. You've got to have good customer service.
Well, most people tell me they've got great customer service, but I don't think it's about providing great customer service. I think it's providing outstanding customer service. And the reason it's so important these days, more now than ever, is because of the internet, Steve. Everyone's online. Everyone's talking about you. They're either saying good things or bad things about you. But most people don't realise that having great service provides two things. The obvious one is you get to keep clients, right? Retention. But the thing most people overlook is referrals, right? If you've got clients that think you're awesome, they're raving fans of yours, Steve, they're going to tell all their mates about you, and they're going to create word of mouth marketing like you've never seen before. So it's really about having those two things working for you.
Yeah, well, marketing becomes pretty expensive if you haven't got this part right.
Yeah.
We took a big step, even another big step just at the start of this year, and it was going back to finding the truth theme that we're running. I went back to 50 of our customers who in the past might have stopped using our services and just asked them for the truth. And it's quite interesting what they first tell you to what once you actually dig down with a good, honest conversation.
Yeah.
I think it's one thing, and quite often it's something else. For us, it was about the way we're treating them and the account managers, how often we're talking to them, what sort of advice we're giving them, what sort of education we were giving them, how often we were contacting the right person in the business. So it was a really good finding for us and a real lesson to be, 14 years down the track and you can still always be learning.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people are starting to use a thing called the Net Promoter Score, NPS. And it's one of the best survey systems on the planet for improving customer service, because the only thing that's of value is a 9 or a 10 out of 10. Anything below 9 is considered either neutral or negative. And so by implementing this Net Promoter Score, we can actually look at a business and say, how referable is your business? What's the likelihood of people talking about you? And how do we make sure your service produces referrals? And so it's just a great way of moving forward with getting that customer service up a notch.
and this is a really good point, because quite often our team will tell us, yes, good customer service, or, oh man, the customer loves us. But let the customer say whether he loves us or not, because that, at the end of the day, that's what matters, isn't it? They'll do their voting by their feet, you know, and by the time they do it with their feet, it's too late. So, you know, we've really got to get that feedback off our customers early and let them have a voice in the say. So that's back in the last section when we said about knowing your numbers. Well, I think it's a crucial one for customer service, and I know we're doing some extra work on this over the next 6 months is to really understand, you know, how else we can be doing better and what else we can be doing better on the platform. So what's another nice little gold tip you can give us in customer service?
Yeah, well, look, when people do surveys, they don't do them well, right? What they do is they have like either a customer survey form that they email out after a sale, and people only respond if they're really happy or they're really sad, right? So you never get people responding when they're neutral. So you need to ask more frequently and you need to be proactive. So possibly having someone in your organization, you call it finding the truth. You know, ring every single client and ask them questions that actually give you feedback on what you need to improve. Don't just assume that you provide great service, prove it, right? Get the client to tell you how to improve it and then implement some of those changes.
Yeah, we just, the whole company read a book called Delivering Happiness by Zappos. They built the whole culture and their whole business on customer service.
Yeah.
So I know it's got everyone in the organization really thinking about what extra can we be doing, because you're quite right. Sometimes we think we're delivering great service, but there's so much more that we can do. It's all those little 1%ers that we can add to it. So, which now leads me into marketing. In this day and age, you've got to be on your game in this area, don't you?
Oh yeah. See, to me, if you get those first 4 steps right, you've plugged all the holes in the boat, right? Now, there's no point bucketing out water. So people spend money on marketing, but the water's just flowing straight through, or the clients are flowing straight through. If we get all that right, now our marketing dollar can be seen as an investment and you can measure the return on it. And it's a funny thing, you know, when we talk about marketing, you know, people ask, what should I use, Facebook or should I use Insta? You know, what's the right channels? And it's the wrong question to be asking. The question is, what provides the best return on investment? So when I spend money on marketing, how much am I paying to buy a new client, right? And most people don't realize we market for 2 reasons. The first reason is to get more work, so generate leads. But the second reason we market is to actually avoid price competition. So if anyone's in a price competitive market, the way to get out of that is by educating the market as to why you're different to your competitor. And that's marketing.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, we moved along a couple of years ago where it felt like we had different departments, you know. The sales was over here and the marketing was over here, and it was like they're working for 2 separate companies. Probably about 3 years ago in our organisation, I was like, I do not like this at all. So we moved to this whole process of get more sales department. You know, it's all one. It's all communication. It's all about happy customers, value proposition to the customers. And then, you know, there's no marketing blaming sales and sales blaming marketing, because it's all one. So then we've got to work out the best thing and what's for the customer, which I like. And that's what I think we've taken a big sort of step to do that over the last 12 months and doing it a little better. So, you know, knowing your numbers again, knowing who or how much a customer costs, and then how much you should be spending.
If I know my acquisition costs, I'll give you an example, Steve.
Sure.
If I gave you $2 for every dollar you gave me, how much money would you give me?
I'll give you everything I got.
Yeah. But you would, right? Because I'd double it for you. Now, marketing can do that for a business, right? I can put money into marketing. If I can measure the return and see that I'm getting double my return on investment, I'll put in everything I got. But for most people, they have no idea what their marketing return is. So their marketing budget is usually small. It's usually like 5% or 7% of revenue. When it shouldn't be based on revenue, it should be based on return. But if I don't measure it, I don't know it.
I really like that. And that's what the beauty of online, we can transparently show them what they're actually getting for the amount of money they're tipping in. They can purely see, you know, how many leads, how many sales. But it's always amazed me over the years of going to all these different steel pushers all around the country, and a lot of them just did not know where their last sale came from. They couldn't track it back to where the lead came from. Was it radio? Was it print? Was it the TV? Was it online? Was it their website? Was it a marketplace? And when we dug down and then started getting them to track the numbers, and then of course they could see where their leads and stuff were coming from, it got them really excited.
Yeah. Yeah, because knowing where your leads are coming from, now you can throw more money at it. And the only thing that should stop you investing in marketing is if you run out of capacity, right? So if you're getting $2 for every dollar and you give me everything you got, there's going to be a point where I can't take anymore. That's a good problem to have in a business, saying my marketing is maxed out because I cannot handle any more work and it's all profitable. And that's what marketing should do for a business. Not just about generating leads, it's about generating profit.
I like that. Sometimes you just got to hear that again, because myself and Mick Brown are very good at spending on branding and marketing, and we do a beautiful job there. But it's a mixture of the two, isn't it? Because there's clever brand and there's clever getting out to a market. There's also the profitability way of doing it as well. So nice little touch up there for me to just keep that in the back of my mind. So moving along, let's talk about team, and this could be a big topic. I mean, the whole show could be just on team here, but let's have a little conversation around team.
Let me start with one of the statements my mentor told me when I started in this business, and he said, David, in business you get the people you deserve. And it was a terrible statement, because all it made me do is say, if I don't have good team members, I've got to look in the mirror, right? Because these days, there's lots of good people out there looking to work for you, but unless they know you exist or unless they want to work for you, you're never going to get them. So it's about sort of making sure that you're finding the best people that you can to actually work within your business. And this is about being attractive to the right people rather than just sort of going out to market and paying premiums. Because it's more important to find the right people than it is to pay the premium price.
Yeah, it was a massive learning for us years ago, and it did come back in those days 12 years ago, that it's like, well, what are we offering them?
Yeah.
What are we offering them different in the market? What are the great perks that they're getting along the way? We've always put so much energy and effort into our offices, to our location, to our perks, to the Friday Arvo drinks, to the culture, so it did really hit home, 12, 13 years ago when we were doing this, and I think it's kept us in good stead of the attraction. There's one thing to attract good people, but then of course we've got to hold them and to grow them. So, what's your experience around, keeping people accountable, growing them?
Yep. I'll tell you, this is probably the best kept secret in business, Steve. It's not about your product, it's not about the market, it's about finding and keeping good people, right? Because finding and keeping good people is the best investment you'll ever make. They'll adapt the business to the marketplace, they'll listen to what the clients have to say. So, the tips around finding and keeping these people accountable is, first of all, make sure you attract the right kind of people, all right? Some people go to work to make money. Other people go to work because they love what they do, right? You need to employ an attitude and not on skills, right? But most people, if you look at job ads, it's all about what experience have you got, what track record have you got, what school did you go to. Very little of the advertising focuses on attitude. It's really hard to measure, right? But focusing on attitude and finding the right people to fit your culture. You talked about culture with Zappos before. Getting the right people on board that actually resonate with your culture is one of the secrets to having an awesome team.
Yeah, we're huge on it, and we've got quite a lengthy process on bringing people in, because once you get the zebra walking in through the door, they're probably going to walk out a zebra through the door. So if you want a line and you got yourself a zebra, it's a lot of work, fine tuning and getting them up to, the way your culture is and the way a lot of people are either taught that or got that when they walk in the door. It comes back from when they were kids, from with their parents and the experience and other bosses that have, taught them. And I know it's a big part of our business of keeping people, is getting the right people in the first place. So I think that's where a lot of our growth's come from the last 2 years. It's really the people and the training, because we thought we were training people and we're training them lots and lots and lots. But it's like, when did we actually last train them? And it's like, gee, that was about 2 months ago or a month and a half ago. So we've turned that one around and implementing more training throughout the business, and I think that's really helped us. Ultimately, the customer gets the better ideas and better service because the people know what they're doing. So
You know, there's an old saying, Steve, some people say, well, what happens if I train them and they leave?
Oh, yeah.
The reality is, what happens if you don't train them and they stay?
Yeah. That one's still stuck in my head. As soon as you said that, I know where it comes from, where it came from. It's still stuck in my head.
Because unless you're a recruiter by trade, most people, they don't know how to recruit because they're technicians, they're tradies, they're professionals, right? So unless you're a recruiter by trade, you don't know how to recruit people. But in business, one of the most important skills you'll ever get is finding and keeping good people. So you better learn how to do it, right? Because that's the thing that's going to actually catapult the business forward. It's not you being smart, it's employing smart people.
So when do you know when to get them?
When do you know? That's a good question. And people ask me, when's the best time to recruit? And I'll say that it's not got very little to do with timing. It's got everything to do with having the right person sitting across the table from you. So the best time to recruit is when the right person is sitting across the table from you, because you'll find a way to fit them into your business if they're the right person. Right? You'll move out of your own chair and let them take your computer and your seat and your phone if they're that good. Right? The problem is we don't know what that good looks like, and we don't open the door for them until we're either too busy, when we say we need help because we're flat out, which is a really bad time to recruit, by the way, or quiet, when we've got time to train them but we've got no cash. So it's not about when's a good time, it's about when do I have the right person sitting across the table from me.
I like that. It's some great advice.
Yeah.
Rightio, well, things have steamed along. I just want to do a quick summary because, geez, I cannot believe that time's flowing by. But, we talked about the 6 key things that you should be doing right now to improve your business over the next 12 months. Planning, time management. We talked about, having your time management off the planning, and then knowing your numbers. Know your numbers from your plan, which is going to get you off that treadmill, and you're not going to have the same business each year, like that photocopy cookie cut thing that you talked to me about, that you don't want to have the business the same in 12 months as the next 12 months and the next 12 months.
Some people do say they've got 20 years business experience, but reality is all they've got is 1 year photocopied 20 times, right? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting a different result. You've got to be progressive.
Yeah, and then we moved into customer service. So it's really finding out from them, having your surveys, over-delivering so that they actually give you, the referrals and want to stick with you, and you have great retention.
Yeah.
Then we moved into marketing. You love marketing that's got a return on investment, which I think was it's just great to hear again today, and I'm sure it is for the steel pushers out there. It's been a valuable conversation around that.
Yeah.
And then we moved into team. So have good team members, find the good key people, and then bring them into your business. That's the right time, is when you find the good people and good attitude, then skill. Attitude above skill.
Absolutely.
All right, mate. Really enjoyed the chat today. I'm sure the steel pushers out there found it really valuable. This was just a quick snippet. I know you've got different courses and different 2-hour windows that these guys could contact you and
if they jump on the website, there's just a ton of resources to download. So if anyone needs help with any of those 6 areas, if they jump on my website, go to resources or the toolkit, they can pick up some downloads on how to do all the stuff we've talked about today.
All right, mate. Appreciate your time. Thank you. Thank you to all your steel pushers. We'll see you next show. We've got some more good, interesting topics coming up. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve.
Over here, we buy better and sell faster.